Pickled herring was pretty gross. I would not eat that again. I tried Mammi. I didn't love it, but I also didn't hate it. I'm not gonna lie, trying to speak an American accent just feels really, really wrong for me. I'm sure I probably still have one, particularly now that I've lived here back in America for about a year. But I'll give an American accent and finish my best shot. No niin nyt minä puhun suomea amerikkalaisella aksentilla ja minä tykkään Suomesta oikein paljon ja Suomi on ehkä paras maa maailmassa. Ehkä. Me trying to speak with my best Finnish accent, which I'm not a native speaker, so this is probably not how natives sound. Nyt minä puhun suomea suomalaisella aksentilla. Yritän puhua sillä aksentilla joka kerta, kun minä puhun suomea. Minun mielestäni amerikkalaisen aksentti on ihan, no ehkä jos ei ole parempi sana, se on ihan huono mun mielestäni. Something that I wasn't expecting to see in Finland that really I thought was really interesting was the amount of refugees and immigrants that were there. Some of my favorite experiences in Finland come from interacting with those people who fled from the conflicts in Syria and Iraq and Somalia, other places, just around the world. Some of the favorite people that I met in Finland were refugees and immigrants. For those of you in Finland who maybe have some refugee or immigrant neighbors, I would highly recommend reaching out to them because I never met a person who was ill-willed and really just wasn't nice among that group of people. There were some great, fantastic people. Had to go through some terrible things. They have some really crazy life stories, but I feel like it really helped shape me as a person, getting to know some of those people and hearing about their background. The time that I spent living in Finland was really, really formative for me. Right now, I'm studying at my university, and I'm studying Middle Eastern Studies in Arabic. And the reason why I'm studying that is because of the incredible immigrants and refugees that I met in Finland. They had such a huge impact on me. They were always so nice that I just felt like I had to find a way to give back to their community somehow. I had a great time getting to know the Finnish people and the Finnish culture as well. My grandmother is Finnish, and so getting to learn Finnish and now being able to speak with her is a really incredible gift. I've been given because of that time that I spent in Finland. I wouldn't trade the time that I spent there for anything. It was truly an incredible experience, and I would highly recommend other people to get to know Finland, get to know the culture and the people there. Yeah, one thing that was kind of crazy was just running into people who were Nazis. I know that is a problem here in America too, but I haven't met very many in America. Whereas in Finland, when I was there on the 100th anniversary in Helsinki, walking down the street, it was pretty crazy to see some neo-Nazi protests and stuff. That's not really the side of Finland that I'm sure most people think of, and it's not something that I prefer to talk about because I love Finland, and I don't want people to think of Nazis when they think of Finland. We almost got beat up by Nazis one time. We got kicked out of a neighborhood by some Nazi guy. He told us to never come back, or he'd set the gang on us. So when I was in Finland, I was a really big fan of salmon, just everything salmon. I never ate very much salmon or fish really growing up, and so it was a new opportunity for me to go out of my comfort zone in Finland, but I really fell in love with salmon. I loved lohikeitto. I made it one time, lasted a week. I didn't love it as much after, but now that I've had a little bit more time without eating it, I think I'd enjoy it again. For light meals and things like that, I loved making sandwiches with tosituma ruisleipä, so the extra dark rye bread. That was really, really good. I loved that. It was super healthy, kept me full. Honestly, that was really just one of my favorite parts about Finnish food in general, was that it always made you feel good. It felt healthy to eat it. That was a really big adjustment I had to deal with when I came back to America. My body just felt like garbage when I started eating American food again. I really enjoyed Finnish food. And I tried, I forget the Finnish name, but it's like the whole fish that's like deep fried. I had that. That really wasn't that bad. Everyone kind of made it seem like it would be something crazy, but it really wasn't. The story of my Finnish language progress is just one never-ending story of me making language mistakes and people thinking I'm weird for it. I was offering something to someone and they said that they didn't want it. They said, "Oh, man, halu ota tätä, olen pahoillani, mutta man halu tätä." I didn't quite hear, like I was still very new to the Finnish language, and so what I thought I heard them say was, "Olen paholainen." Like, anteeksi, olen paholainen, mä en halua ota tätä. That naturally was very confusing for me. And so I replied to them, trying to mimic what they said, thinking that like pahoillani and paholainen were the same thing. And so I said, "No, varmasti et ole," and they did not take that very well. Needless to say. So be careful. The way to say "I am sorry" and "I am the devil" are very, very close. So for any of you who are studying Finnish, make sure you know that distinction. A really rewarding feeling for me though was when I would speak Finnish and people would not think I was American. Because the stereotypical American, of course, has a really strong accent and doesn't really know how to speak Finnish. And so I took it as a pretty big compliment when people would think I was Russian or Estonian. So if you know a non-native a non-native Finnish speaker and you want to make their day a little brighter, assume that they are Russian or Estonian, because that was definitely a pretty big confidence boost for me when someone would tell me that. Something that I really admire about the Finnish culture is, I think, the humility that Finns have a lot of times, as well as the politeness and respectfulness that every Finn exhibits. They'll tell you exactly what they're thinking. If you ask them for their honest opinion, they will not. From my experience, most of the Finns that I knew didn't try to hold back when it came to telling me their honest opinion, whether that was a good opinion or a bad opinion. But they were always very polite and respectful. If I ever needed help, I could literally ask anyone on the street or in the grocery store or wherever I was, and they would do everything that they could to make sure that I was able to find what I was looking for or got help with whatever I needed. And I think that's really reflective of the way that they treat refugees and immigrants, as well as poor people over there. That was something that I really admired, was that I never saw a single homeless person in Finland. You know, here in America, we see homeless people all over the place. People get homeless all the time. But in Finland, that's non-existent. And I remember speaking to a Finn who was a very successful businessman who undoubtedly had to get a lot of his wealth taxed and things. And I remember talking to him about it, like how he felt about seeing his money get taxed away. And he said that, you know, he really didn't care. He felt that all that really mattered was making sure that everyone in Finland had a place to live and food in their bellies. And I thought that was 100% admirable, that so many of the Finns over there were just so selfless with what they were given. So I really admired that. One little aspect of Finnish culture that I definitely adopted while I was there was I got a lot quieter. I'm not so quiet anymore because I've been living back in the States now for about a year. But I remember coming home and just like the difference between the level of volume with which Americans speak and Finns speak is tremendous. And I know that many other people before me have noticed that, but I still feel like it's worth being said. And it was something that rubbed off on me. I talked very quietly by the time I moved away, and I also talked a lot less. I was a lot more concise with how I spoke. I thought that was really interesting that ended up rubbing off on me. Well, of course, the crime rates in Finland are extremely low. The thought of like getting robbed or mugged or whatever in Finland was almost non-existent. Like that was something that never ever crossed my mind the entire time I was there. I felt very safe everywhere I went, just about. You know, if I'm completely honest, I didn't feel like I had a terribly large culture shock when I went to Finland and when I came back to America. However, there were a couple little things, like the The Finns that I spoke to definitely spoke quieter, spoke more concisely than Americans did. Obviously, I can't speak for every American, for every Finn, but I felt like a lot of the Americans that I knew, it's a lot more common here in America to see people driving around with like big trucks and trying to kind of project themselves outward on other people. Whereas in Finland, I feel like people, for lack of a better term, like to mind their own business and just kind of let people live their lives on their own. They didn't really go out of their way to try to show how great they were. They were very, very respectful of the way everyone else really seemed to live their lives. Min svenska är ganska dåligt nu, men kanske om jag skulle tala till de finska människorna, jag skulle säga att jag tycker om Finland jättemycket. Det var kanske den bästa tillåtelsen det var kanske den bästa saken som hände till mig, att jag fick gå till Finland och lära om de människorna där, och att jag fick lära mig svenska och finska. Och, jag skulle rekommendera det till var och en för att gå till Finland. Finland är jättegott. Se aika kun mä olin Suomessa oli ehkä se oli oikein, se niinku nyt mä en osaa sanoa mitään suomeksi. Now I'm having a hard time switching to Finnish. Se aika kun mä olin siellä Suomessa, se kosketti mua oikein paljon. Ja se auttoi mua tulee siksi ihmisiksi, joka mä oon nyt. Ja mä niinku ehdottaisin sen jokaiselle, että mene Suomeen. Mene Suomeen. Suomi on ehkä paras maa maailmassa ja mä tykkään siitä oikein paljon. Se auttoi minua todella paljon, kun mä tutustuin Suomen kulttuuriin ja kansaan. That was pretty garbage Swedish and Finnish, I'm not gonna lie. I should have done some more preparation before time, but